Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday the 13th of March 2017, and here is a quote from the Times from Saturday last week. Fracking farmer refuses to be intimidated. His home has been besieged by angry neighbours, his daughter abused on social media, and a relative has called him a money grabber in obscene terms. But Alan Wensley has no regrets about leasing a field on his Lancashire farm to the company, hoping to start a fracking revolution. Of course, as we know, whenever we see the word revolution, we can be concerned. But anyway, here we go. In his first interview, Mr. Wensley, legal fiction, of course, Mr. Wensley describes attempts by anti-fracking protesters to intimidate his family, including his 87-year-old mother who lives in the house next door on Plumpton Hall Farm near Blackpool. And it goes on to talk about quadrilla and security guards and things like this. Now, what I have done, ladies and gentlemen, I have put below this video there is a link, okay, and it's you'll see the title of it. The title, when you've linked, Press TV's full interview with Max Igan. Go to 12 minutes in it, and there you see Max Igan talking about letter to write to whoever he talks about. I think it's the MP, and to begin to consider malpractice, misfeasance in a public office, very serious offences, and a letter to write to them in order to help stop this fracking, and he has been successful in doing it. And if you can imagine loads and loads, everybody writing this letter, you know, for example in Preston, where this revolution apparently is going to start, and where lots of people are concerned because they don't want their water supply to be destroyed, because that's what fracking would do. Put these big sharp things down there and squirt deadly poisons in there, you're going to destroy the water supply. It is, in fact, as he points out, Max Igan, a matter of national security, because what is a nation, what is a country without a water supply when we need the water? And then you hear about Nestle taking over water, and you consider Agenda 21, UN Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. Main objectives include controlling absolutely everything, including all resources, and that, of course, is water, air and everything else. So many see fracking, quite rightly I believe, as part of the attack on mankind to limit his resources. And this will of course limit water. Water, the most important thing there is for mankind in this world. Wherever there's life, there's got to be water. Water is far more important than gas from shale. Fracking, hydraulic fracturing, I think is the proper name for it. Now, obviously people who are around Preston and Blackpool and so on are quite concerned, because fracking has all sorts of negative effects. It's interesting that fracking, I think, was started in America, and it was done quite successfully. America is very big, and initially it just used sand or something completely. It might be just sand and water. I think it's just sand, just blasting it down, then breaking the shale up. But it wasn't poisonous chemicals, not 100 or so poisonous chemicals. And of course Britain has got lots of underwater lakes, which is where they get the water, and if you start squirting that with poison, you're going to destroy the water supply, you're going to limit it. And then Nestle, perhaps, you know, like they want to come in, they've got elsewhere and around in the world, they set a precedent for trying to get hold of all the water supply. We don't want that. The water was given to us. Now, I tell you what, people who don't like fracking often turn to these individuals who start protests, who sort of, you know, petitions. Petitions never work. Do you know what? No petitions ever work, because, of course, it has to be witnessed. Every signature has to be witnessed in a court. That's why petitions don't work. You know, they've got these boxes of signatures, you put them away over there. Signatures, petitions, protests, they're all a way of getting you into this communitarian dialectic framework, corporate framework, all arguing with each other but never seeing the light out. And part of the light out to fracking, I mean, I tell you what, here's an example, an idea. There's a letter example in that interview with Max Igan. 12 minutes into that video, really very, very interesting to have a look. It's just ideas for you to consider. I found that very interesting, but I think if you've got some time, listen to the whole interview. There's lots of interesting information. But I reckon if they started building, some farmer rented a field just there, right next to me, to, quadrilla, 2 or 3 acres or whatever it is, and covering it with lime and then concrete and a big drill going in, and, the interference and possible earthquakes, etc. All for this gas that we don't really need, because, if it happened there, it wouldn't happen. I tell you what, it would stop. I know somebody actually who knew a little bit about the law and went to approach one of these people who sort of take, has a bit of influence in these fracking protests and so on. And said, look, all you need to do is write a letter. Here's the letter to the CEO of Quadrilla or whatever. I need to see your insurance, because if I make a claim against you, if there's any way you're going to harm my situation, okay, you the man, don't write it to Mr. or Mrs. the legal fiction, this is what he said. I'm just telling you what he said to that man, and you'll stop it, and it will stop it, because if you listen to Max Igan, that's an example of it being stopped. But of course, this bloke who's interested in sort of going around saying, yeah, we're protesting against fracking. He said, no, I don't understand how that works. So he carries on the protesting, and as far as I'm concerned, that is all a complete waste of time. It can be done with the law. The law is immensely powerful. That is why a giant corporate internationalist usury monster is perched right on it, right on top of the common law. So much so that it's a threat to the world. So much so that when I got up this morning, I'm seeing chemtrails sprayed in the sky. So much so that the water's being poisoned, that cancer rates have gone through the roof, etc. I'm not going to go on into it. That paedophiles are going on, or all that going on as well. The whole monstrous thing that's happening all around us. Countries being broken down, cultures being destroyed, religion being destroyed, law being undermined. That's how powerful this law is that they're parasitising upon. And the law is based in God's law, of course. And as it says in Donahue and Stevenson, it refers to certainly the second law commandment of Christ. There's 2. First, love God with all your heart and so on. Second, love your neighbour. Duty of care. It's peaceful. It's simple. It takes a letter requiring responses. And of course, if loads of people send a letter, then that's a real effect. Forget all the voting. Voting don't make any difference. Really, at all. It's how you live according to the law. The law is the way that things can be done. Now, I mean, if I heard they're going to do a fracking plant there, I'd write to the farmer who's leasing the field to Quadrilla. I write to him. Just imagine again. His name is Harry Bird. Dear Harry Bird, right? I wouldn't say Mr. because I don't want to write to legal fiction, because I want to see him in court. If he causes a problem, I want to see him in court as a witness. Okay, I want to question him. If I'm going to make a claim, I'm going to question him. So, dear, and then I'd put the name. I understand that you have recently leased some of your property to the corporation known as Quadrilla for the purposes of hydraulic fracturing, otherwise known as fracking. I therefore require you to present me with all of the studies and analysis that 100% proves fracking would not cause harm in any way whatsoever to me or my family, or in any way hinder the use of my water supply and the quiet and peaceful use of my property. I also require a copy of your insurance liability certificate so that I know it will be sufficient to cover for any claims that I may bring against you in relation to the harm resulting from the leasing of your property to Quadrilla. You have 7 days in which to provide me with the documentation. If you do not do this, I shall take appropriate lawful, not legal, law, not legal, lawful action against you, because we're in the common law, you see. I also inform you that your actions include a threat to national security, as any damage to our water supply is a threat to everyone and every living thing in our country. I mean, that's just an idea. That's what I think that's certainly what I'd consider sending to any farmer who is building a fracking plant near me. And what I would like to say, if you're one of those people living in Preston or near or wherever in Lancashire and you're concerned about fracking, I'd consider this letter. I'd consider getting you know what I might do if I was doing it. I believe this is a great idea if I was doing it. Get loads of people to send that letter. And should there be one iota of harm from this situation, there'll be claim after claim after claim after claim after claim after claim. That place will be shut down pretty quickly, I should imagine, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how you do it. No point, I don't believe, in wasting your time going around standing in the freezing cold doing protests, upsetting the police. Upsetting everybody else as well. And you know, I don't like to hear this. This man who's, for whatever reasons, decided to put this fracking plant on his property, his daughter has been abused on social media. This is disgraceful, of course. This is unlawful. This is outside the spirit of the law. This is outside the spirit of the common law. You know, and all sorts of abuse that's been going on, including to an 87-year-old woman who's his mother. I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely disgraceful behaviour, and particularly so. But this is the whole thing, isn't it? When you're in the big corporate communitarian dialectic, toing and froing, whipping up frenzies all the time, this is the outcome. It adds harm to harm to harm. Best way is to keep it clean and clear, standing with some sort of integrity and dignity according to the law, and using the law, that great, as I said, that great big powerful thing. Anyway, I just thought I'd comment on that, ladies and gentlemen. And this fracking can be stopped. It can be stopped. So can many, many other things be stopped. This is just an example, I believe, for you to use. And remember, I'm not here giving you advice. It's not my job to give you advice. I'm not qualified to give you advice. But like I said before, we're sharing ideas, and we're beginning to get to the real gist of what this common law is all about. It's a good way of doing it by providing examples, practical examples. There you go. Thank you very much for watching, and have a very good whatever it is that happens between now and when I next speak on these videos. See you later.